Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to a very special edition of the Progressive Rock and Metal album review series. And today I am going to be taking a look at the very long and very impressive catalogue from one of the most legendary and iconic supergroups of all time, the one and only Asia. And this is part 2 of a very special review to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the band. And as I mentioned at the end of part 1, after taking a look at the first half of the catalogue from 1981 to 1990, today I'm going to be taking a look at the catalogue of albums from 1991 to 2004. So after Steve Howe left Asia and it came down to John Wetton, Geoff Downes and Carl Palmer, and a variety of different guitarists. John Wetton would go on to pursue a solo career. Carl Palmer would rejoin ELP with Keith Emerson and Greg Lake, leaving just keyboardist Geoff Downes on his own. And Geoff Downes, in a way, you could say, was kind of like the de facto leader of Asia, because he was the only original member left from the classic lineup of Asia. So instead of just hiring big names from the progressive rock genre, because that's what Asia was. It was a supergroup comprised of some of the biggest names of the progressive rock genre. Geoff Downes decided to go in a different direction. So instead of going full-on prog rock, he went for a more lighter, softer, almost laid-back AR-ish sort of approach to the music. So enter singer, bassist, guitarist John Payne. And the John Payne era of Asia, you know, some people have panned it saying, oh, it's not like John Wetton. That's the whole point. It's not really meant to be like John Wetton. Geoff Downes, along with John Payne, took Asia in a more different direction. And I applaud them for it, because I wouldn't really just want to hear another continuation of the very hard progressive rock stuff. Not that there was anything wrong with that, it's legendary, but I admire them for wanting to go a different direction. So in 1991, Asia was reformed, but this time as a duo with Geoff Downes and John Payne, with a variety of different session musicians, and Steve Howe and Carl Palmer, members from the original classic lineup of Asia, would make guest appearances as well. So, as I mentioned already, today I'm going to be taking a look at the catalogue of albums from that era, from 1991 to 2004. And it's a pretty impressive collection of music. Obviously, some albums are a little bit better than others, but I think with the John Payne Asia stuff, there's a lot to appreciate and respect. And in my opinion, there's some incredible music on here. I mean, John Payne, no, he's not John Wetton. He is very much his own man, but he's got such an amazing voice. It's kind of harkens back to like the 80s AR-ish sort of sound of the time. But at the same time, John Payne's voice is very distinct and very fresh, and he's even sang some of the John Wetton Asia material, so he does an amazing job. Very talented musician, and during this time, Geoff Downes would really come into his own as a composer as well, and along with Payne, these two made some pretty damn good music, in my opinion. And as I mentioned already, I am going to be taking a look at the Asia catalogue of albums from 1991 to 2004, and I am going to be talking about each album individually, and I'll be choosing which one I think is the best one. Now, overall, very impressive catalogue. Some albums are a little bit better than others, so this isn't going to be too hard for me, but I quite enjoyed revisiting this catalogue of albums. I think there's some very enjoyable music. So we're going to start with the first album, which came out in 1992, and this is Aqua. Very strong album, great way to kick off the new era for Asia. So as I mentioned, John Wetton is gone, enter John Payne, and they really come back with a bang with this one, and it's an amazing album. Lots of my favourite songs are on this album, and it's very different to previous Asia recordings. It's still very much rooted in the prog rock roots, but at the same time, it's a much more lighter, rockier, and at times a little bit poppy than the first three Asia albums. But it's a fantastic album, and it really sends a message loud and clear that Asia is very much alive and well, and this signals the beginning of a new era. Now that we have a brand new singer in John Payne. Unbelievable singing from John Payne, great keyboard work from Geoff Downes, and what more can you say, really? It's just an amazing album and very, very strong in this portion of the band's catalogue. So we've got Aqua Part 1, which is very, very soothing, very, very peaceful, and very, very atmospheric. You know, we've got Geoff Downes playing keyboards, and we've got the sounds of water and waves, and we've got beautiful acoustic guitar playing from Steve Howe. It's just a very gorgeous opening, and you can clearly see just by hearing the intro that this is not going to be the typical Asia album. This is very, very different, and it's just absolutely lovely. And then it goes straight into Who Will Stop the Rain? Kick-ass song, great singing from Payne, very powerful voice on this track in particular. And what more can you say, really? It's just really tears the house down. And, you know, the lyrics in there are just so well sung. He's like, who will stop the rain? You know, it's just really, really good, this is. Then you got Back in Town, another great track. Love Under Fire, which is a track that Geoff Downes composed with ELP's Greg Lake. Another great song, very lovely. Someday, which sounds very similar to the original Asia, especially in the chorus section. Because someday, you know, very, very good track. That is one of my favourites. Little Rich Boy, another great song. The Voice of Reason, another great song as well. Lay Down Your Arms. Now, for those of you who may not know this, this was actually the theme song for Freddy the Frog FRO7. So that's pretty amazing to know that Asia, specifically John Payne, is a part of a film soundtrack. So that's good to know. Lay Down Your Arms. I love that song. It's just brilliant, it is. Crime of the Heart, another great song. A Far Cry, another top-notch song. Don't Call Me, Heaven on Earth are great songs as well. And then we got like the kind of like a reprise sort of epilogue with Aqua Part 2. So it's pretty much a continuation of like Aqua Part 1, but just like more of a reprise. But lovely, lovely song. So let's have a quick look. I love the artwork. It's just absolutely incredible. So it's Geoff Downes on keyboards and backing vocals, John Payne on vocals, bass and backing vocals, and guest appearances from Carl Palmer on drums and Steve Howe on guitars. And we've got Al Petrelli on lead and rhythm guitars, and we've also got additional guitars from Anthony Glynn, and John Payne plays a little bit of guitars. And then we also got on drums the legendary Simon Phillips and Nigel Glocklear on drums as well. So not a bad little collection of musicians we've got there. So Aqua, incredible album, very strong opener to this portion of the band's catalogue. And the standout tracks for me are Aqua Part 1, Who Will Stop the Rain, Love Under Fire, Little Rich Boy, Lay Down Your Arms, and Aqua Part 2. Excellent album. One of my favourite albums of the John Payne Asia of the catalogue. Just excellent album. So there you go. Aqua. Excellent album. So we come to the next album, which came out in 1994, and this is Aria. So by this point, it's kind of become a somewhat stable lineup. Obviously, the first album, Aqua, had guest appearances from Steve Howe and Carl Palmer, and you had Al Petrelli and Simon Phillips, among others. So by this point, with Aria, you've kind of got more of a stable lineup. So you've got Al Petrelli on guitars and Michael Sturgis on drums. So not a bad little lineup here. And this lineup lasted a little fair bit. So we got Anytime, great opener. Are You Big Enough, which is just badass, especially that opening. Are you big enough, big enough? So it's a really good track as well. Desire, Summer, Sad Situation, which is a lovely song. Don't Cut the Wire, Brother, another great song. Feels Like Love, another great song as well. Remembrance Day, another good song. Enough's Enough, terrific song as well. And you got Military Man, which is kind of like the signature track of this portion of Asia. You know, this actually was redone as an acoustic version, so it's quite a good song as well. Aria is more like a duo track with Downes and Payne, which is very good. And then we've got a bonus track called Reality, so some really good songs on here. I don't think Aria is as strong as Aqua. I think Aqua was a little bit more stronger. Aria still got some good songs on here, but there's some parts that are just a little bit weak. But there's some good tracks on it still. I'm not completely saying that this album was terrible. There's still some great stuff there, but I just think Aqua was just much more stronger. But there's still some good songs here, so we can have a quick look. It's quite funny to see John Payne clean shave, because I'm so used to seeing him with a big beard, but cool, it's pretty cool. There they are. So we just got like all the lyrics here and the sleeve notes, but yeah, good stuff here. So the standout tracks for me are Military Man, Aria, Are You Big Enough, Sad Situation. It's a sad situation, sad situation. That's a lovely song there, I love that. And Don't Cut the Wire, Brother, and Enough is Enough, Enough's Enough. So some good songs there. So there you have it, Aria. Good album, maybe not as strong as Aqua, but still enjoyable. There's some great stuff there. So we come to the next album. This came out in 1996. A little bit more of a different album here. This is Arena. One thing about Asia, I love the album covers. The artwork's just brilliant. Arena, a little bit different to Aria and Aqua. This one's a much more laid-back album. There's some Latin influences and some flamenco influences in there as well. Still very much in the rock AOR-ish rooted and prog, but it's much more laid back and much more semi-acoustic in the tracks. But it's a good album. It's a very good album. Quite enjoyable. You know, lots of percussion, like bongos and congas and things like that. A bit more piano, but it's still good. It's still good. It's still got some great epic rock numbers. So we've got Into the Arena, which goes straight into Arena, which is a really good song. Which is a really good song. That is. It goes like, to the arena we climb. Whoa, love that. It's a really good song. Got Heaven, Two Sides of the Moon, which is great. The Day Before the War's great. Never, Falling, Words, You Bring Me Down, Tell Me Why, Turn It Around, and Bella Nova. Some good songs on here. A little bit more laid back than the two previous ones, but at the same time, it's good. Look at that. It's just amazing. So, it's pretty much Downes and Payne with guest appearances from Michael Sturgis, Elliot Randall, and you know Louis Jardim on percussion as well, and it's pretty much you got Aziz Ibrahim as well. He's on one track, and yeah, it's pretty much the same guys as the previous album, but with some guest helpers as well. But yeah, it's a very good album. Quite enjoyed it. So the standout tracks for me, I would say, are Arena, the title track. Love that. The Sides of the Moon, You Bring Me Down, Tell Me Why, Turn It Around, and Bella Nova and Never. Some great songs here. And there you have it. Arena. Excellent album. Again, maybe not as strong as Aqua, but still some great music there. And as I said, it's a little bit more laid back than the previous Asia albums, but it's good. It's quite nice. It's quite a lovely album, I would say. So there you have it. Arena. Excellent album. And as I said, awesome album cover. So as we move along through 1996, the next two albums, they're like more best ofs. So we got Archivia 1 and we've got Archivia 2. So as I said, these two albums, I wouldn't really say they're like official studio albums of new material. These are just like compilation albums of songs from the previous albums, and there's some unreleased songs as well. So they're not really, as I'd say, like new material as such. They're just like outtakes and tracks that were never used for albums. But there you have it. So you got Archivia 1 and, as I said, Archivia 2. So they're good albums. As I said, they're just more or less just compilation albums, but they're quite enjoyable, I would say. So the next album, so this is a bit of an unusual one. This came out in '99. This is Asia Rare. So purely instrumental. This was a soundtrack for a CD-ROM game called The Exodus. And as I said, it's not really like new material. Well, it is new material, but it's not really like in the traditional sense that it's just a soundtrack for a CD-ROM game. But it's quite cool. So we got The Waterfall, The Journey Begins, The Seasons, The Gods, The Whales, The Journey Continues, The Reservation, The Bears, Under the Seas, At the Graveyard, Downstream, The Ghosts, The Sun, The Moon, The Sharks, The Journey Ends, The Indians, The Angels, The Horizons, To the Deep, The Game, and The Exodus. So there's about 22 songs in total here. But as I said, this is just more like a video game soundtrack for CD-ROM called The Exodus. But it's quite good. It's quite unusual to hear Asia instrumental. So it's just more or less just John Payne and Geoff Downes, really. There's not really any other musicians. So you could probably just say this is more like a soundtrack, but it's good. It's quite enjoyable. Waterfalls is a good track. The Seasons, The Journey Continues, and The Journey Ends, they're both good tracks. Under the Seas, The Moon and The Sharks, and The Angels and The Horizons. So those are my standout tracks. But yeah, as I said, Asia Rare is more of a video game soundtrack, but still worth checking out. I think it's quite good. It's quite good. And as we move through the 1990s up to the early 2000s, there wouldn't be much activity from Asia, and no touring and no albums, but they would return in the 2000s with a bang, which brings us to the next album, which came out in 2000, and this is Aura. So Aura, just like Aqua, this is Asia back with a vengeance, new material, and this is one of their strongest albums. I definitely put this up there with Aqua. It's just an amazing album, and this could very well be my favourite Asia album of the John Payne era. It's just very, very strong, very, very kick-ass, lots of great songs, and this is a special edition. This has got 3 bonus tracks, so even better. This is just top-notch stuff. Great production, great songs, everything about it just boom, boom, boom. Really, really good this is. So, and there's the album cover. Love it. So we've got the classic Asia Eyes. Love it. It's a really good album. So it's Geoff Downes on keyboards, John Payne on vocals, bass and guitars. And we've got guest appearances from Asia's Steve Howe, Elliot Randall, Pat Frau, Ian Critchin from Saga, Guthrie Gavain. We've also got Tony Levin from King Crimson. And we've got some who's who of drummers. We've got Vinnie Colaiuta, Simon Phillips, Chris Slade, and Michael Sturgis. So really good album this is. And a lot of the songs on here, they were mainly written and composed by Andrew Gold and Graham Goldman. So obviously Downes and Payne added their input to it as well. So you can see this is a real team effort. This is, everyone's just pulling their weight. So there we go. That is just awesome. Everything about this album is just excellent, really. You can't go wrong, really. And if I was to recommend any album from the John Payne era of Asia, it would definitely be this. and Aqua. Very good albums. So we start off with Awake, which is just epic. Awake! Just brilliant it is. Then Wherever You Are, really good song. This Wherever You Are, it's just excellent. This is, and this is one of my favourite tracks. Ready to Go Home. I'm ready to go home. You got to hear it live. Geoff Downes, unbelievable singing, and he really comes into his own, not just as a composer, but as a singer as well. You know, a lot of backing vocals, big harmonies from Geoff Downes. You know, people forget that, you know, Geoff Downes isn't just a great keyboard player. He's not a bad little singer either. He really sings well with John Payne. And I remember I was watching this track live, and I thought, wow, that's a very powerful singing from John Payne. It was actually Geoff Downes. I was like, wow, it's unbelievable. This could very well be probably the most powerful and best track of the whole album. It's really good. The Last Time's good. Forgive Me. Kings of the Day, another great song. On the Coldest Day in Hell, another great song. Free. You're the Stranger. Love that song. And this one's a real rocky number. The Longest Nights. Love it. And then we got the title track Aura, which is kind of more harkens back to Arena, so it's a bit more laid back and a bit more atmospheric with lots of percussion and some Latin influences in there as well. Really good song that is. And then got the three bonus tracks Under the Gun, Come Make My Day, and Hands of Time. All great songs as well. And the standout tracks for me are Awake, Wherever You Are, Ready to Go Home, You're the Stranger, and The Longest Night, and Aura. But it's just, the whole album is just excellent. Just love this album. It's really, really good. And the touring band for this would be the lineup of Geoff Downes, John Payne, Chris Slade, and Guthrie Govan. And Guthrie Govan would go on to become quite a big name for himself. He would go on to form the Aristocrats with Brian Bella and Marco Miniman, and he would also play with Stephen Wilson in the Stephen Wilson Band, with a lot of other heavy hitters from the progressive rock and metal genre. So Guthrie Govan, I'd say he went on to do very, very well for himself. And of course, Chris Slade, he was also from AC/DC. So some star power here. Excellent album. Could very well be my favourite Asia album of the John Payne years. Love it. So we come to the next album, and this would be the final album that John Payne would make. And it's a good way to go out on. This is probably the biggest album they've ever made, and this is like the first, officially the first Asia album not to start with A, and this is Silent Nation. So we've got a stable lineup now. Guthrie Govan and Chris Slade are now in the band, and they're recognised as an official lineup of Asia. It's a really good album. This is. It's a very, very good album, and you know, after years and years of tolling and, you know, getting nowhere, these guys finally start to get somewhere. And, you know, I've never condemned them, always supported them, buy the albums, go see them live. They were finally starting to get somewhere. And this one really cracked the glass ceiling for these guys. And this is another strong album. One I would definitely put up there with Aura and Aqua. It's just really, really good. So we got What About Love? What About Love and the Human Race? Love that song. Long Way From Home, great song. Midnight, Blue Moon Monday, the title track Silent Nation. Ghost in the Mirror is a great song. Gone Too Far, I Will Be There For You, Darkness Day, and The Prophet. And we've even got here the bonus disc, which is a DVD, which is like the making of Silent Nation. So it's a really good album. There's Geoff Downes. There's John Payne. Guthrie Govan, fantastic guitar player, really, really good. And there's Chris Slade, great drummer as well, and an absolute legend. And here we are. Really good. And yeah, quite a cool picture there. And here we are. Yeah, great stuff. So the standout tracks for me are What About Love, Silent Nation, Ghost in the Mirror, Gone Too Far, and Darkness Day. So there we are. Asia, Silent Nation. Brilliant. So this would pretty much be the end of the John Payne and Geoff Downes partnership. Obviously, John Payne reformed the band as GPS and with a variety of different session musicians, and he would go on to form Dukes of Orient, and he would, do a number of different projects. Geoff Downes, meanwhile, he would start working with John Wetton again. They would go on to form Icon, and then that would eventually lead to the reformation of the classic lineup of Asia with Steve Howe and Carl Palmer. So that would pretty much be the end of the John Payne era of Asia, and that would mark the beginning of the reunion of Asia, which is going to be talked about in part 3. But there you have it. 1991 to 2004, 6 great albums. Love it. So, which one do I consider to be the best one? Well, it's not really that hard for me. The best album for me, I would say, is Aura. Doesn't get any better than that. Aqua's close. Very, very close. And Silent Nation's very, very close. But this, for me, of the John Payne era of Asia, this is the one for me. I love this album. Always listen to this every day when I can. It's just a great rock album. You just can't go wrong. I would say all the albums are good, but this is the one for me. Love it. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite album from the John Payne era of Asia, 1991 to 2004? Is it Aqua? Is it Arena? Aria? Rare? Silent Nation? Or Aura? There's no right or wrong answer. We all have our favourite albums. You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will be back next time with part 3 of the Asia 40th anniversary special, where I am going to be taking a look at not only the reunion of the classic lineup of Asia, but I will also be taking a look at all of the albums that came from the reformation from 2006 to 2012. So make sure you don't miss that. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe. And once again, as always, thanks for listening.